Hello, thanks for joining me today. I wanted to talk about mental sex and how men and women think differently, according to um, the co-developer of Dramatica. Her name is Melanie Anne Phillips, and Dramatica, if you don't know, is a theory about how the mind develops a story instinctively. It combines psychology with storytelling and in a very innovative way. So, part of this is that there are two ways that you can that the mind can approach a problem. Um, Now, normally, um, it says that men think in a linear fashion, and that women tend to think in a holistic fashion. So, I wanted to explore that a little bit better. On my other channel, Visionary Ventures, I will explain Dramatica in a different way. I want to explain the steps that you go through um, in order to develop what's called a story mind, a story form, um, and the theory and the software calculates the story form itself. Go to my other channel. It's Visionary Ventures. Before I want to go into that, I want to say something very sweet. Um, Yesterday, well, let me go back a little bit. I've been working at my job for a few weeks, yay, and um, there's a colleague. I I worked there last fall, but it was a different department, and they gutted the department. But luckily, I was through a temp agency, but luckily I was able to get hired back directly with the company. So I'm working something like a customer service rep. Um, so there's a and we're all seated in rows and so forth. And there's a colleague that, well, maybe I shouldn't mention which colleague this is, but I we were walking. It's the end of the day. We were walking down the stairs, and she asked me, "Do you have any plans for this weekend?" And I was kind of caught between mentioning, because I always do this on weekends. Today's and um, Saturday and Sunday. Probably film my Visionary Ventures episode on Sunday tomorrow, but that leaves me time to be able to be Samantha for today. So she asked me what I want. Did I have any good plans? And so I said, watching a few movies, and then I mentioned, oh, I have 2 YouTube channels I'll probably film, and I was kind of anticipating, hoping that she would ask me, well, what are they about? And she did. She asked me, and I said, well, one of them is a Visionary Ventures. One of them is about psychology and various theories, and the other one, and then I blurted it out. I said something like, I do female impersonation, or I may have said cross-dressing. I don't remember, but again, I'll have to work on my voice. Sorry. So she said she like, just the one thing that she said really made me feel comfortable and accepted. She said, like Tootsie, and I felt really happy about that. The company is wonderful, um, wonderful, open, and we have company profiles. if you want to, you can be able to write your profile and write tidbits about yourself. And there's one spot that I put in about hobbies that you have. And at first I put, I didn't know how to put this. I put like a costume impersonation. And so on my next draft, I found, the one who would be uploading these was so busy with training that she hadn't even gotten to publishing them yet, or publishing mine anyway. So I decided, well, it's pretty open. I know some coworkers before in the previous department had been very open and encouraging. And any of you know the 21 Jump Street theme song from the 1980s? I don't want to play that here, but the lyrics describe how I feel. So I revised it, and instead of putting costume impersonation, I put what I really wanted to put, which is female impersonation. I did not put crossdresser because I feel that female impersonation is truly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, crossdresser is, first of all, it's just an act. It's just a thing that you do for a purpose. It's not a means in and of itself. Now, what I'm doing is it's something like magic. I'm trying to improve my look and see how close I can get to looking like a true woman. I know my jawline kind of betrays that, but I'm wearing earrings, believe it or not, and I improved my eyes. I'm improving little by little, and you can't see it right here. Let me see if I can stand up. I'm wearing slacks. All right. All right. So aside from that, I forgot. Okay, so that was like maybe 2 weeks ago, and so yesterday, Friday, I asked her. We were in our chairs, in our desks, and it's all in rows. And I asked her, would you be offended if I, remember my hobby I mentioned? Would you be offended if I were to show you some pictures? And she said, "Oh no." So at the end of the day, I was really eager to show them to her, and it was a few minutes before we would leave, and it was the weekend, and I didn't want to. Phew. Okay, it froze for a moment. I didn't want to think of it all weekend, so I went over and I asked her, "Is this a good time to show the photos?" And she really liked them. She asked me, "Are those all? Did you do all that yourself?" And I did, self-taught. And she looked at me and she said, nobody, because I still felt nervous about how people would think. Not nervous, really, more like cautious about revealing this part of me. And she looked at me and she said, in so many words, you should be happy with whatever you are, or free expression. Don't be afraid. So I liked that very much. All right, so on to the other thing, which is the Melanie Anne Phillips. All right. Oh, my diet plan. Okay, I promise I want to get a thinner waist. So I worked out this description. It's basically a description of how many times I drank a 64-ounce bottle of water, and how many calories I consumed, and how many times I I walked in the park. You may have seen my previous video in which I showed I gave you the time when I started my walk, and then I walked for about half an hour, and then like about half an hour back. Um, I don't know how many miles that is. It's probably not too many, but I want to work up to maybe, I think it's 4 hours, maybe every week, enough to slim my waistline to something more feminine. Um, I've seen some amazing cross-dressers on YouTube and Facebook, and it's hard to believe that they're actually not women. I know there's some digital uh, foolery, but I've seen some videos, and I think it's harder to trick the videos, to play around with videos so much. So, and I've seen one who gave excellent tips for cross-dressers, and sadly, there aren't any more YouTube videos. I don't know what's happened, but thankfully it's not been taken down, and I can go back and watch those videos again. Plus, I want to give a shout out to those in the 1980s and 90s. Before that, those celebrity celebrity cross-dressers or celebrity impersonators who would do like Cher and Madonna, and Jimmy James was really good as Marilyn Monroe. So that's the level that I want to get to. Okay, so we start with Sunday, and of course I end it Friday because today's Saturday, and I don't plan to take a walk. Okay, Sunday, three loaves of bread, or slices, slices of bread with some dollops of hazelnut. That's it's an off-brand of what's that? It's an off-brand of hey, the chocolate spread you put on. I can't remember the name. Of course, the camera's on me, so I can't remember. All right, so 3 slices of bread with some dollops of hazelnut, and 2 patties, and a full bag of vegetables. I'm kind of vague. Sorry, I'm kind of vague. I just wrote down what I had, and half bowl of cereal, regular sized bowl, and it was something like cornflakes. It was essentially cornflakes with 2% milk. I always get 2% milk, and then Monday I had 2 bowls of cereal and 2 patties. I've been easing on my expenses on buying things, even food, because of my paycheck. It wasn't that long ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, when my bank account was in the negative. So now it's in the positive, but I still want to be careful on my expenses, and I should be getting another paycheck soon. There's so many things I want to buy, but I'll have to hold off. Rent, things like rent and medical and so forth take precedence. And I've had wonderful friends who've chipped in to buy food, and sometimes I've lucked out and they've had like a slice of pizza at work, something like that. All right, then Tuesday, Gatorade Zero, 1 bottle of that. It's like maybe something like that, and cereal, same cereal, 2 patties, and a turkey sandwich that a friend gave me, a small, just 1 slice like that. And then Wednesday, Gatorade Zero again. You'll notice a lot of the same foods in here. Gatorade Zero, bowl of cereal, 2 patties, uh, a 30-gram protein premium drink. Sorry I didn't get the amount, but I could look it up. It was a small thing about this big. It's 30 grams of protein and it was protein premium. Okay, then on Thursday, it was a little salad with some dressing. This is at work, and Gatorade Zero again. Um, a a narrow breadstick, about that long, soft, and some little chunks of meat, and some dollops of peanut butter, and a what's that word? Oh, a ramen. Ramen noodles. I had a square, just one square, and with some soy sauce included. So I heated it up with some water, and then on Friday, um, I walked again. I didn't mention, strangely enough, I didn't mention what days I walked. I thought I did. Oh well. All right, so Friday, yesterday, I walked that same distance, and I had a square slice of pizza, and no meat, just cheese, and a cup of Coke, about that large, and some peanut butter, of course, when I got home, and another bowl of cereal, and a can of, I don't, oh, I thought I had planned to mention what it was. It was, I had chunks of vegetables in it, and some turkey bits in it. That was all. It may have been like chunky beef stew, something like that. And that's it for that. So for the record, so later on, you can monitor. I hope to keep this up every week, mentioning those things. All right, now on to uh, on to Melanie Anne Phillips. All right, so let me describe the differences. Okay, first of all, Melanie Anne Phillips, when she was helping to develop Dramatica, she had been born a man, and she'd been undergoing, right at the same time, she'd been undergoing hormone, sex reassignment, and hormones pulsing, flowing through, and she had developed from that. She describes one moment when she was reaching for her toothpaste, and she discovered that rather than reaching for the outline of the toothpaste, she reached for the color. And so she'd been thinking about how men and women think differently. And I don't want to get, I hope this doesn't become sexist. It's just a very different interpretation of it. Let me read from something she wrote. Here. Let me see if this is all. She also, this is something I found, she also talks about sound. She describes how she developed a feminine voice. Here, I'll read a little bit. She mentions, she mentions some key elements. You may have seen an earlier video where I was talking about voice. She mentions pitch. She says, the actual difference in pitch between sexes is minimal. In fact, the overlap of range between the sexes allows for almost any individual to fall well within accepted norms of pitch. And I have a program on here called Eva. And from that, I discovered that in order for it to register that I'm speaking in a feminine voice, I should be in like the about 200 hertz range for pitch. Now, resonance, she says, is the modulation of whatever pitch you have. And I've been looking at some other, excuse me, I may be, ironically, speaking of pitch, I may be, don't be surprised, my voice, I've got to keep on working on my voice. It's hard to keep talking like this for this long. All right, she says, resonance is the modulation of whatever pitch you have. It puts the envelope on the voice that takes the pitch and assigns it timbre. Da, 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 da. Now, I've heard people developing an ability to speak with a feminine voice, and they say it's more about being vibrating, where the pitch vibrates somewhere in the back of the throat. And I've also heard some women have like a nasal or more like a guttural voice, like that, like a raspy kind of. But I first of all, it hurts the throat probably, but I don't want to come across as inauthentic. So I've been off. I think what I'm doing now is closer to authenticity. I just have to develop this further. All right, so there's resonance, there's pitch, there's here dynamic range. Dynamic range describes the difference between the highest highs and the lowest lows, just as I was trying to do. Men use a very narrow dynamic range, even though they're quite capable of extending that range. Now, I think that my voice is naturally a little higher than men, so I'm happy in that department. So basically, widen your dynamic range. Enunciation. It's the way you pronounce your words. Just as one might do a dialect, there is a female dialect that transcends languages and cultures. I'm sounding like I'm sorry. As I talk, I'll try to not talk in falsetto so often. I should soften my voice. Soften my voice. I tend to try very hard when I'm doing this. I'll try not to force it. I'll try to let it come naturally. It still takes breath control. All right, so there is a female dialect that transcends languages and cultures. I will describe she will go on further. And of course, there's a vocabulary. Men and women use different words, different phrases, and so forth. Something that I picked up, don't try to speak so quickly as a man. As if I were a man. Try to slow your pitch and enunciate words and speak more softly. Don't try to force it, and maybe it'll come more naturally to me. And of course, body language, which I have been doing. All right, so she goes on further about that, but that's the overview. That's what one thing I wanted to get to. And so the other thing, the really exciting thing, is the mental sex. Basically, do you think like a man or do you think like a woman? And men think, men, the way the actual model is, men stand on um, time. No, men stand on space, and so that for them, space is fixed, and so they see time as variable. So it's very linear. Time is very linear, and so they measure things in things like cause and effect, and if you like goals, and if you want to change somebody's attitude or mind, you go right to the source and fix the problem. Whereas, I forgive me, this is just how I understand the theory. Um, Whereas women think more holistically, it's more spatial. They're standing on time, and so they see time as fixed, and so they see space as movable or able to be rearranged. So that gives you the spatial dynamic. So, so they're not. So problem solving for a woman would not be cause and effect. It would be more like um, I have like all these different things, and I must rearrange this so that it will cascade and affect all the other things. How can I? It's more like a Rubik's cube. How can I rearrange this in order to um, orient the other things as best as I can? I want the whole picture to be in a certain arrangement. How can I rearrange these little things to rearrange the entire picture? And it's all about space. There's one movie that I don't remember off the title. I don't remember off the top of my head. It comes from the 1930s or early 40s, and it shows there's a married couple, and she's running off, and the husband is chasing after her. And this is a good example of how, in the theory, how men and women approach problem solving differently. She notices a cop nearby, and rather than try to prevent her husband, she it's like more spatial. She tells the cop, "This man has been bothering me," so that directs the cop to take him out of the picture, and then she goes on the train. There's another one in the movie Conspiracy Theory, where starring Julia Roberts and Mel Gibson, and so it's an excellent point because Mel Gibson, he's worried. He's in the back seat. He's hiding in the back seat, and she's driving, and he's worried about these cars that are chasing them. So he says, so she says, I bet you think that I'm going to speed up and try and lose them, right? Right. Well, that's thinking like a man, and I'm not a man. And he says, yeah, I can tell. And she says, and then so what she does is she stops. She rather than speed forward and try and outrun them, which is more linear. She, in terms of time, she parks over to the side and she passes the other cars, forcing the car that was behind them to keep going. Otherwise, they would call attention to themselves. So I think that's a very good example of mental sex. Now, this theory, Dramatica, has about 70 different elements associated with it. And again, it's the mind calculating a problem, a conflict, from 4 different perspectives. And so mental sex is, so 4 different perspectives. And it has basically a periodic table, and it rearranges the periodic table. When you see it, is at rest. And based on certain conditions you put in, it rearranges, like a Rubik's Cube, it rearranges, it swivels, it flips, it flops, to give you what the themes are for each of the 4 perspectives, what the mental sex ought to be if you haven't put it in already, and it fills in all the other elements. Just needs about 12 binary choices that you make in the software. So Consequently, in every move, so this is the mind working its way, but it's showing you the mind working its way through a problem, what it would look like. It's like a snapshot, and that's the movie. Um, but the movie is played out linearly. People, consumers watching a movie, don't realize all these different aspects going on. So in every movie, that means there's a mental sex of the main character. Um, does the main character think like a man or think like a woman? So in every movie, so um, that's that tell. One of those telltale signs. Is it more of a spatial? Is it like a spatial approach, or is it a linear approach? And when the movie, remember the movie Wonder Woman? Um, I think it was like 2017, something like that when it came out. I was wondering, would they have her, if she's the main character, she probably would be, and then Steve Trevor would be the impact character. Would they have her thinking like a woman or thinking like a man? And my guess is based on this about the theory, about the Dramatica theory, because women tend to think, sorry, a little departure from my female voice, because women tend to think holistically, the there's another thing related to how the movie progresses towards a climax. It could either be time or it could be space. Option lock would be for space, and time would be for linear, time. Time, you have to be very specific. You have this goal, and you must achieve it within a certain fixed period of time. Now that period of time should have been running for the course of the movie. And if it's not based on that, if it's based on certain things that have to be checked off, oftentimes, like in detective stories, for example, you'd have certain suspects, and those would be the options. You have a certain number of suspects that you have to investigate, and when you get down to the final suspect, that itself kicks off the climax. Now, let me see. Sports games, movies like that would tend to have more of a time limit. Like, the movie 48 Hours has a definite time limit. You have 48 hours in which to find evidence that let yourself off the hook and find out who did it. So I hope that gives you a good sense of difference between the two. So going back to men and women, so to get the best audience, you want the main character to be you want it to be mixed. You've heard of a chick flick. A chick flick would be it's not just you put up pretty roses and you have a romantic comedy. No. Specifically, you have a main character, because the audience is in the mind of the main character. That's the function of the main character. You're observing the impact character from the point of view of the main character. So you want, for a chick flick, you want a main character to have a holistic mindset, and you want an option lock for the other thing I was talking about, whether the climax kicks in because of running out of options or running out of time. So for a chick flick, you would have a holistic thinker in a plot that's driven by, or climaxes, progresses with an option lock. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Twilight is set up that way. And so if you want a guy's movie, you would want the total opposite. You want a very linear main character, because that allows the audience of men to get into the mind and follow along with the main character, how he's thinking, and feel like they can be able to bond with the main character. And you want it to be in a linear, a time-focused story. So there you have a certain amount of time. I wouldn't be surprised really if 48 hours is very much that way. Now you can throw in different things that interest women, but that would be a very guy's movie. You have a linear in both cases. Now, if you want to mix them together, there's something very interesting. I'll have to understand this better, but according to the theory, this is more the geometric explanation of the theory that a woman can be able to go like 90 degrees off and wouldn't be able to empathize with a linear thinker main character, but she can understand and kind of um, follow the main character, a linear main character. It's very different for a man. Apparently, it's more difficult for a man to pick up on a holistic main character. I noticed that when I was watching the first episode of The X-Files. Some of you may have seen that. You have a guy and a gal. You have Fox Mulder and Dana Scully, and they switched them. Actually, it was kind of fun. Fox Mulder is the one with the, and many people have mentioned, well, several people have mentioned this. Fox Mulder is a holistic thinker, and Dana Scully is the linear thinker, and I suppose you can see that. First of all, it made it look, it made the character seem unique. Unique. I suppose you can see Dana Scully as being more of a scientist. This fact leads to this. Now, that's not to say that there's no female logic. There certainly is. Female logic would be more predictive in terms of this is related to this, which is related to that, which is related to that. A linear main character logic would be this leads to this, leads to this, and leads to this, like you see often in detective stories. So when they switched that, it was interesting. And so when I was watching the first episode of The X-Files, at some point at the climax, as they were heading to a commercial break, all of a sudden, out of clear blue sky, Fox Mulder says, "I think I know who did it." And his reasoning was often in the show, it seemed like it was very much out of left field. So I guess I'm more of a linear thinker, although I do sometimes, I like to think holistically, and think more holistically than other men. I guess not always. So in every movie there should be at least a main character who exhibits one of these two. Now, often the other character will be of the opposite mental sex, like in The Dark Knight, which is analyzed by Dramatica. Bruce Wayne / Batman was very much a linear thinker, and so the Joker was a good example of a holistic thinker. He rearranged, he wanted to get back at Batman, so he would cause chaos over here that would cause ripple effects over here, so forth, versus more of a direct approach. Let me see what other. I think you get the idea. I don't want to prolong this video, so without anything else, I don't know what I'll cover next week, but hopefully my voice will be better. I'll keep practicing. All right, so another show of my earrings. I'll see you next time. went through all that, and I forgot to tell you about what they did with Wonder Woman. So I was wondering about whether they would have a Wonder Woman as a linear thinker or as a female thinker. So what they did was they had her be a very linear thinker. I could see some elements of holistic thinking in Steve Trevor. Although the jury is out um, whether the impact character has to be of the opposite mental sex. But Wonder Woman is a very much a linear thinker. She when she's told, all right, there's a problem, she says, take me right to the goal, right to the war itself, the center of the war, and I'm going to stop it. And she has a habit of going straight into the conflict and just fighting it out. Whereas in the movie, Steve Trevor says, no, you have to think about this and the ramifications of that, and you can't go in just willy-nilly like this, what about this and what about that, which I see as more holistic. Now, they had her as a linear thinker in an option lock story, meaning that they have it's not a plot that comes to a climax based on time running out so much as different things that have to be dealt with. And so that's the best mixture. You want and let's be honest, I mean, a lot of guys would be going to a comic book movie about Wonder Woman. You have Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. So they didn't want to alienate that crowd. So they had a, a male thinking Wonder Woman in an option lock story. And I would hazard a guess that that's what most of movies nowadays are, or what most movies are typically. They would have an option lock story, which to me is actually more interesting because you have to juggle all these different options. And it's much more interesting, much more varied, rather than, I guess you could tell, a strictly time-based climax in an interesting way. But I always favor an option lock story, and so that's what they did. So, all right, so that's it. I also forgot to mention something I always forget, almost always forget. If you like this channel, please consider subscribing and liking this video. I have a few views. They're building up, but I could always use more. I don't want to say it that way. I appreciate every one of you. Like when I started my other channel and this channel, I didn't expect to get that many. It's really just for me. If nobody else sees this, I'm still having fun putting out my ideas and putting out these videos. So, please spread the word and consider subscribing and liking this video and hitting the bell icon. So, all right. I wish you a good week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.